about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything.
Good morning, Rooted Men. Pastor Tom, Firmly Rooted Ministries. What is it? It's Tuesday morning. We spent yesterday traveling back from Greendale. My beautiful bride is next to me. We're working together in the same office. See, look at that hand. Look at that beautiful hand. There she is. She's saying hi to all of you. Great to be home. But the weather's a little bit different here than Greendale. I don't know. It was like 90 degrees and sunny down there. But I guess we needed some rain, so that's all right. The grass needed and the flowers need some rain. We're going to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 1 through 11. And so I'm going to pull that up in a second, but let's see who's on board. Eric, good morning. Ken Gooch, good morning, fellow brothers in arms. Chris Connolly, good morning. Steve Ponoworski, good morning. I'm out there on X. Good morning. Bert out there on YouTube. Good morning, gentlemen. And plus a number of other guys are out there, or people are out there. I can see ya. All right. Let me pull up the text and see what it looks like here. Add it to the stage. There we go. All right. We're going to look at verses 1 through 11. Paul is now talking about his own role as an apostle. He and Barnabas have been doing ministry together. Remember, they spent a lot of time in Corinth. There's letters going back and forth between the church and Paul and the church, addressing some issues that they're facing, questions that they're facing. Now Paul is talking about his authority as an apostle, which has been questioned from the very first chapter. If you remember, some of the Corinthians are following Paul, some are following Cephas, some are following Apollos. So this kind of, we're not following that guy, we're following that guy. And we don't follow a guy, we follow Jesus, right? So here's what he says. Am I not free? Am I not an apostle? Have I not seen Jesus our Lord, which is one of the requirements as an apostle, to have seen Jesus and been in his ministry? Are you not my work in the Lord? If I'm not an apostle to others, at least I am to you. For you are the seal of my apostleship in the Lord. And he's talking about how much time he spent in the Corinthian church. And that if he's an apostle to anybody, he's an apostle to that church. My defense to those who examine me is this. Do we not have a right to eat and drink? Do we not have a right to take along a believing wife, even as the rest of the apostles and the brothers of the Lord and Cephas? Or do only Barnabas and I have no right to refrain from working? We know that Paul and Barnabas oftentimes made the choice to work, to mend tents, to make tents. It's a way that they could be on the street corners doing work and also opening up opportunities to share the gospel. Who at any time serves as a soldier at his own expense, right? Soldiers get paid by the government. Who plants a vineyard and does not eat its fruits? Or who tends a flock and does not consume some of the milk of the flock? I am not just asserting these things according to human judgment, am I? Or does the law not say these things as well? For it is written in the law of Moses, you shall not muzzle the ox while it's threshing. right? You don't starve the ox while it's doing its work. You let it eat, right? God is not concerned about oxen, is he? Or is he speaking entirely for our sake? Yes. It was written for our sake, because the plowman ought to plow in hope, and the thresher to thresh in hope, sharing in the crop. If we sow spiritual things in you, is it too much if we reap material things from you? And we're going to stop there. He's going to continue. This message isn't over. But what he's basically saying is a worker is worthy of his wages, especially within the church, because going back to the times of the Levites, they didn't have property. They earned how they survived was the donations and the tithes of the believing body. Same as the church, right? I'm a pastor who gets paid by the church. My salary comes out of the free will donations that you all contribute, as well as myself, that comes back to me as a salary. A worker is worthy of his wages. And I guess I don't want to say so much about Paul, but I just want to say on behalf of Kimberly and me, boy, our Firmly Rooted family has been terrific with us, not just in a monetary way, but the way that you have been with us in prayer, the way that you have supported us, loved on us, the way that you were with us during the whole cancer diagnosis and supporting us there. We are grateful for how beautiful we are loved and cared for by the Firmly Rooted family here and also in Greendale. And so just wanted to point out that as a fact, since this was the topic, and then just come back to Paul for just a second and pull myself back into the screen and say, it's not true with a lot of pastors. Kimberly and I have come across horror stories of the way that some pastors are treated by their churches and pastors' wives are treated by their churches. And it's pretty harsh and it's pretty selfish on the part of the church. So again, Paul is addressing an issue that isn't he and Barnabas worthy to receive some of the benefits because of the work that they did to create the very church that is producing those benefits. All right, we'll leave it at that. Let me see if anybody at the end here jumped on. Isaac, good morning. John Carson, good morning. Brian Flaming, good morning. Steve Skopik, good morning. I knew there was more guys popping on. Chuck B, good morning. All right, we're going to be back at 8:30 for Strengthening Our Roots. My dear bride is going to be doing Flourish here just in a second, and we'll be back at 9 o'clock for prayer. Blessings on your day. Make it a firmly rooted day, and may someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.